Amanda, welcome to the Sipping Point.
Thank you very much, Laurie. It's wonderful to be here from all the way down under in New Zealand, Aotearoa. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
And thank you for giving us that backdrop. If you're watching this on YouTube, everyone, we can see the vineyards in the background. And I'm here on the East Coast with like 20-degree weather Fahrenheit. And so it's very, very cold here. And so I'm dreaming of sitting in your seat. And thank you for joining us. And Spy Valley is such a historic winery, one of the most prominent family run wineries there in New Zealand. And so if folks are just learning about you or they already love your wine, but they want to know more about the background of the winery and your family, kind of give us an idea how it all started.
Sure. Well, I'd love to share it. Yeah, so my name's Amanda Johnson. I'm the second generation of the Johnson family. So my parents, Brian and Jan, first bought land here in the southern valleys of the Wairau Valley in Marlborough in the early 90s when the wine industry here was sort of just starting to take off a bit. But the Waihopai Valley, where we're situated, was deemed a bit of a risky area, not really, probably be frost prone and not really an area for planting grapes. But my dad, his background he was actually a share broker by trade. So, a bit of a risk taker. And so he decided to plant some of the first grapes here in the Waihopai Valley. And so for the first few years, we were a contract grower. And then in 2000, we decided we wanted to create our own brand and build our own winery. We, in the Waihopai Valley, where we are, interestingly, we also have a spy base, part of the Five Eyes network up the road, and the locals at that time used to refer to the Waihopai as Spy Hopai Valley. So when we wanted to build the winery and come up with a brand, it was like, what can we do that's a little bit unique and different? We can make some serious wines, but have fun doing it. So I actually pitched to my parents one night. They were in bed, a little PowerPoint presentation with my idea about calling it Spy Valley. My dad also is a mad keen fan on James Bond. So we've sort of integrated the two. I kind of take his heartstrings a bit. And so we've integrated a bit of intrigue into the brand and been able to sort of tell some stories. The wine bottles have Morse code on them. The winery here has, a lot of reference to that. And actually this feature you can see outside our cellar door is actually part of the spy base up the road. It's the radon that came out of one of the big dishes. So we have a lot of fun, but try to make serious wine. Yes. So anyway, my parents have 180 hectares of vineyard, and we grow 6 different varietals. So Sauvignon Blanc is obviously our hero, the flagship, which Marlborough has
Yes.
sort of put ourselves on the map with. And then Pinot Noir would be our second highest producing wine. And then we have Chardonnay, Pinot Gris, Gewürztraminer, and Riesling. So
Nice.
different varietals. We also make a method traditional, which I love. I think it goes very well with oysters, which are another love of mine.
Yum.
Yeah, which we grow locally. We have an abundance of seafood here in Marlborough, so we're very lucky, and it makes for a great match with our white
Yes.
varietals. We are fully integrated. We grape to glass. We grow our grapes here on the estate, and then we bring them into the winery. We crush and produce them here. We also bottle on site here with our all-female bottling team, who I always
Yay.
they have the most fun in the building. The music is always the loudest down there, which is always quite fun. If I need to pick me up during
Yes.
the day, I head on down there to have a little groove with them. And then we have our own warehouse on site and our own tasting room here at Cellar Door, which hopefully if any of your listeners get to New Zealand, they'll come and visit us. We love to welcome people. And we also offer platters, and, they're sitting right in amongst the vines, which is really, really gorgeous.
Love that. And
Yeah.
I'm based here in Maryland off of the Chesapeake Bay, and we are known for our oysters here on the East Coast of the US. And so your Sauvignon Blanc would be a perfect pairing for so many different preparations of oysters. And actually, February is our big sip and shuck, where we're pairing wines with oysters and whether they be raw or fried, etc.
Oh,
And
yeah.
your Sauvignon Blanc definitely comes to mind. And so tell me a little bit about your specific style. You sent me some so that I could sip along with you here. What is it stylistically? Because obviously there's so many Sauvignon Blancs from all over the world. But what do you think really identifies your Spy Valley style and maybe even the broader regional style?
Yeah, so where we are on our vineyard, we have the Omaka River that runs through the vineyard. So we're essentially very stony soils. You get a lot of minerality and salinity through the flavor profile. And, rather than big styles, we get more passion fruit, grapefruit on the nose. We're so fortunate in Marlborough that makes, we think we're surrounded by two very large mountain ranges and we have the highest sunshine hours in New Zealand. And so we get these beautiful, hot, sunny days. It's 26 degrees Celsius today. And then we get the cold nights. So we get during harvest, this lovely ripening period, but also retaining the acidity with the cool nights. So I think, that's sort of unique to us here. So you get a little bit of chalkiness and salinity
Yes.
coming through, but still it's very juicy and fruit forward.
I agree. I think it's beautiful. And of course we've mentioned oysters, but our other big thing here, at least in my region, is crabs. We're known for our blue crabs, and this would be fabulous with those because you need a wine with good fruit but also that matching acidity because we like to put something on it called Old Bay. It's a seasoning, but it's got a good amount of salt in it. So, but plus
Oh,
a little spice kick. So that's something that would go fabulous from here. But if you're at home outside of oysters, what's one of your favorite pairings to put with your Sauvignon Blanc?
well, I'm very fortunate. I've got three children who I've grown up and sort of they left home, went to university, but I've got two of them actually living back at home at the moment, working. One's in the vineyard and my daughter's managing the cellar door. But having the Marlborough Sounds on our doorstep, which is an abundance of seafood, a beautiful waterway, we catch a lot of fish and they're keen divers and they do a lot of spearfishing. So my current favourite is they get what's called kingfish and it's sort of pelagic style fish, bit like a tuna. And so they've been making a lot of
Mm.
crudo, which I love raw fish. So anyway, but this crudo is absolutely divine with a Sauvignon pairing. And same like you were saying with the crab, they put a little bit of chili and a spice on it and lovely sort of oils and things and herbs. So yeah, it goes very, very well. That would be my pick at the moment.
That's lovely. And it's so great to see now you have more generations getting into the wine business because I know for a lot of families that's the difficult part. Not always do the next generations want to keep with the business. So that's really exciting for you that sounds like two of your three are already in place at some
They are.
capacity there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, my parents have 12 grandchildren, and all of them have come and worked in the vineyard, for harvest or over their summer university holidays or something. But I know, it was always, you know, wanting them to seek their own careers by choice. And then if they did choose to come back in time, well, that would be an extra bonus. But yeah, I'm delighted. I'm delighted to be working with them. And my daughter, she's great in the cellar door, and that generational family business is lovely to be able to. Marlborough's changed its shape and form a lot over the years, and so there's a lot of big companies here. So it's lovely to have that small family owned business. We get a lot of the cruise ship customers who come in from the US and Australia and all around the world. So it's really lovely to be able to give them that sort of genuine, authentic, experience. Yeah.
Yes, love that. And I know as a family and a winery, one of the things that you are very committed to is sustainability and, just making wine in a way that respects the environment and maybe even makes it better. So tell me a little bit about, because obviously it's a term we all hear about in the wine industry or when you're visiting wineries, but how does sustainability look? What's that look like in reality, your vineyards?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it is incredibly important to us. We view ourselves as guardians of the land, kaitiaki, which is a Maori sort of way of leaving the land in a better place than you find it for the next generations ahead. And so New Zealand wine industry is actually really progressive in this space. And we've been a member of Sustainable Wine Growing New Zealand since 1999, and about 95% of all vineyards are in New Zealand. So it's a way, of focusing on reduction of waste and, lessen your impact. We obviously use very lightweight glass. We've switched to 385-gram bottles, which is 20% less than the usual. And this, because, yeah, thank you. We're really mindful, we're export to about 35 countries around the world. So we're all focused on trying to lessen our carbon footprint. We have a beautiful wetland in one of our vineyards that we've planted over 1,000 native plants to bring back the native birds and insects. We run sheep through the vineyard instead of mowing during the winter, which always looks gorgeous, but adds a little bit of nutrition to the soil as well. But what it does is, it lessens the compaction of the soil and limits the tractor passes, so use of fuel and things like that. We also have solar panels. We were one of the first wineries in Marlborough we've got 200 solar panels, which is the equivalent of running about 5 domestic houses. So that helps with our reduction of use of electricity. What else do we do? We use
So much already.
the glass bottles are also, 80% recycled glass. So everything we're looking to do is about reducing our impact really on the land and, in the environment. So it's really, really important to us. And yeah, it's kind of embedded in everything we do really. Yeah, we sort of grow
Yes.
weeds under the vines, and it can look a bit woolly sometimes, but reduction of sprays and anything like that as well. Yeah.
Perfect. And I know here in the US, there are certainly as of late is much more interest in, what we're putting in our bodies. And,
Absolutely.
crazily, there's all these ingredients and things that you're allowed to put in food here that you wouldn't get away with anywhere else in the world. So people are really tuned into that. And wine, I believe, of all of the adult beverages, if you will, can be one of the most natural because there isn't a lot of processing needed and you can make it very natural. And so I think people in general, but even this newer generation. I have a 22-year-old who's back at home after university. And
Oh, no.
so I think, yes, so I know where you're coming from on that. And I think they really do care and think about it a lot more than maybe I did at the same age. So I love
Absolutely.
that wine to me, of all the things that are out there, should be the place that everyone's looking for that, natural beverage. And thank you for doing all those things to make sure that it is that way in the glass. When I visited Australia and New Zealand the first time, is just the idea that you guys are in the opposite cycle of things right now. So right here, it's February, super cold, snow. This is our winter. But for you, you're just getting into, your harvest will be April-ish?
Yeah, March, April. So we're
Okay.
sort of going through veraison at the moment. And yeah, so we're looking, because we actually make a lower alcohol Sauvignon Blanc called Easy Tiger, and that is 9.5%. And so we make that naturally though. So that's usually our first to pick, as well as our bubbly
Okay.
base. So we pick that at a lower brix. And then again, that's made naturally. We're not de-alkalizing it. And so, yeah, we start, probably that'll be the start of March. And then we go through to maybe middle of April. Yeah. So
Nice.
for us, it's about 6 weeks. So we bring in about 8 extra cellar hands from all around the world, which is always fun. There's a whole lot of different accents happening in the winery, which is exciting. And yeah, so we have we have female winemakers at the moment. And then some of our bottling team, we don't bottle during harvest. So half of them will go into the winery and half into the vineyard. So we're a sort of small team that kind of, everyone, helps out,
Right.
which is lovely. Yeah, it's really good fun.
Yeah. I love that, and I love that you have so many females on your team. Speaking of, you mentioned Pinot Noir, which of course is such
Yeah.
an important grape variety for New Zealand. And so tell us a little bit about your Pinot Noir. People know Burgundy, France, and Oregon and California here, and maybe some different places for Pinot Noir, but what can they expect with a New Zealand Pinot Noir and specifically Spy Valley?
Okay, yeah. So we bring in, when we harvest our Pinot Noir, we bring them all into separate blocks, into parcels, and they get fermented in open top fermenters, and then skins wrapped off after about a week, and then we use French oak, and then it stays in oak for about 11 months. So our Pinot, I guess, it's on our higher river terrace, so sort of more clay soils, but you get a lot of sort of red berry with a bit of
Yes.
spice, and a little bit of plum as well. So very fruity, I would say, but with a lovely sort of finish.
It's very well rounded. I love the red fruit, definitely jumps out at you, but I love that little hit of spice.
Mm,
And then
it's
it's just really luscious and smooth though when you take that sip on the palate, it's very smooth. And Pinot Noir to me is just such a great red because it can handle so many different types of food because of the
right.
fruit and the acid that's there. The tannins not hitting you over the head. But if you wanted to go to something meaty, you could do that too.
Yeah, it's
This is
really
beautiful.
fresh and vibrant. Yeah, it's interesting. We're finding a trend in New Zealand in particular, I guess, as you say, we're in summer at the moment. A lot of people are gravitating to reds during the day and that lighter style, like we actually made a Beaujolais style Pinot Noir, which people are chilling. It's called en bloc. So every vintage, our winemakers get to have a little experiment and, try different styles. And we're finding that that's been extremely popular in the Salador as well, because as you say, it's more as an aperitif before dinner, a lighter style. And I think New Zealand Pinot Noirs, are probably underrated, but, they are that juicy, delicious, berry fruits, but lovely spice and a little bit of cinnamon. And yeah, it's lovely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was told that once that if you go to a winery, you want to ask the winemaker, what are they experimenting with? Do they have any secret projects? And that's usually where there's some really exciting stuff going on. But there is an Oregon winery, Willamette Valley Vineyards out in Salem, Oregon, and they make what they call a whole cluster Pinot Noir using some carbonic maceration. So Beaujolais style. I think that wine lovers are kind of moving in that direction and people are seeing that. Chillable reds, I did a show at the beginning of the year about the trends for 2026 and chillable reds like Beaujolais and Pinot Noir and some others that you can put in the fridge for a little bit and sip
Yeah.
on seem to be a thing
Yeah.
with everybody right now. So you're in the right place. You're in the right place.
Yeah, so we have, because Spy Valley is obviously our flagship, brand, but we have this block series which, as I was saying, we did a in block, which was the Beaujolais style Pinot Noir. We've also done a C block. Sadly, our vineyards are not very originally named. It's A, B, C. But
Yeah.
so we have a C block, which is one of our assistant winemakers. She made a skin contact Pinot Gris. So it kind of looks like an orange wine. It's very dry, but it's, and having the tasting room here, we can sort of trial them and see how they go. Last vintage, we did a Chablis style Chardonnay. So, we did a white Pinot, which then we found really popular and people were choosing that, over and above of a rosé. So it's really nice for the winemakers to be able to not just be a Sauvignon Blanc, production and get to
Right.
experiment. I think it's great for their personal and professional growth. And it's not just our winemakers, we get the cellar hand or someone gets to, have a go and then get their name on the bottle. And it's really nice for their
Oh,
progression, and their families are always quite excited and they're, buying them up because they get their name on the bottle for once. It's not just the,
uh,
good winemaker. So it's really nice to be inclusive and be able to sort of share the, development across the whole team.
Love that. And I could see this with a great my husband makes is a chef and he makes a great
Oh,
chicken marsala.
oh,
So I could totally see this with that. But I also love Pinot Noir with grilled salmon. And I try to eat salmon a few times a week for health reasons, etc. What would be your favorite thing to pair with your Pinot Noir tonight for dinner?
wow. Okay. Gosh, I love salmon too. We're lucky. I can't wait for you to come out to New Zealand because
I
you were
know.
saying the South Island, we have beautiful, beautiful salmon farmed here in the South Island, fresh and seawater salmon, which is delicious. But I think New Zealand is very well known for our lamb as well. And I love a lamb cutlet, a rack of lamb. So,
Mm,
oh, you're making me
that's a
hungry.
great one.
If I was probably that would be a favorite for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I love that. All right. And so I have a question for you. When you are not drinking your own wines, what can I find you sipping on wine wise? It doesn't have to be from New Zealand, it could be from anywhere in the world. What is one of your go to things if you just feel like having a great glass?
Oh gosh, well, lots. I'm quite parochial. I love supporting New Zealand wines. One of our winemakers, she moved on from us to Greywacke and she is making some stunning wines there. So I enjoy drinking those. Also, my dad has, been a bit of a collector of wine. So at Christmas, even ever since we were young, we would, with our dessert, have a Chateau de Cam, sticky. And I have to say, that is just delicious. So,
It is. In Australia and New Zealand, people dessert wines, they call them stickies. I do remember
yes.
that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And you can find some I know in Australia, there are quite a few people who make them. How is it in New Zealand? Are people making dessert wines as well?
Yeah. So we have a dessert wine Riesling. And we also did. You were asking for interesting, tales in the winery. We had a late harvest Sauvignon Blanc as well, which was from 2017. It was just 2 barrels of it that sort of got forgotten in the winery, if I was to be honest, and kind of got pushed around. But anyway, one day we were finally like, what are these? And we tasted them, and yeah, Sauvignon Blanc that had been 5 year in barrel. Oh, it's like honey nectar. It's absolutely delicious. So we thought we better put that in a bottle. And it's lovely too. I think everyone thinks Sauvignon Blanc is potentially a one trick wonder, but we have our different tiers where we, put it in oak. The different styles and tiers of Sauvignon, you can see quite a broad spectrum. And one of the things we're involved with is, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, it's called Appellation Marlborough wine. And I think it's
Mm.
part of this growing industry of Sauvignon Blanc coming out of New Zealand. It's sort of a mark that was a group of producers, including ourselves, got together in 2018 to go, how can we stand out quality, authenticity, and a place of origin? So part of being a member of Appellation Marlborough Wine is that it has to be 100% Marlborough grapes. And they have to pass a quality standard. They have to be bottled in New Zealand. So, we're share in that with the likes of Cloudy Bay, Greywacke, Dog Point. So we're really trying to have a point of difference to show that authenticity and quality, because I know certainly, there's quite a glut of wine out there at the moment, I think globally. And it's like, how do we stand above, and have that
Yes.
authentic quality, and so that people can choose us with trust, that they know what they're getting is a genuine, offering. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, based on my tasting, I already trust you. So thank you for focusing on the quality and sustainability and the family. And I love that, you do have such a great arsenal of women in all facets there at the winery. Is there any advice if there's someone listening that's thinking about maybe going to work at a winery or getting involved in the wine industry or business, if you will? That you have, based on your experience, to give somebody the confidence to get started?
Yeah, well, I've got lots of advice, but I guess the main thing for me, like, I'm so proud of our team. We don't deliberately choose females, but we have females in the vineyard. We have female winemakers, female bottling line. We have males scattered amongst there as well. Don't get me wrong. Our maintenance person is a young woman we've given an opportunity, and she's doing amazing. So I just think what my best advice would be to absolutely back yourself. Like I think women have a tendency to have imposter syndrome and think someone else might be able to do it. Well, I would just say, i- i- you never want to live with regret. Try something and fail because that's how you learn. But if you don't try, that's just a regret you might carry with you. So I just think back yourself, give yourself the confidence to say yes, and yeah, I'm a big
That
believer in just building confidence.
That's great advice. And sometimes it's like just leap before you look and just get started, and then things will happen from there. So I love that piece of advice. And Amanda, thank you so much for coming on The Sipping Point. It was so great to learn more about Spy Valley and taste these wines.
Thank you. And we absolutely welcome you or any of your listeners if you come to see us in New Zealand. But thank you so much for having me, Laurie. It's been an absolute pleasure.